This is impossible. Where did these ships come from? Our intelligence said you had no military fleet. Admiral Chen's expression did not change. Your intelligence was wrong. We have spent 200 years building this fleet in secret. We hoped we would never need to use it. We built shipyards in the darkness of our outer system in places where no one would look. We trained our soldiers in simulators that your spies could not detect. We prepared for a war we prayed would never come. Why? Keith demanded. Why hide this? Because we understand something that your kind is not, Chun replied. War is not glory. War is not honor. War is horror. It is death and suffering and destruction. We know this because we have experienced it. We built our hidden fleet not because we wanted war, but because we knew that someday someone would force us to fight. He leaned forward slightly. You should have listened to our ambassador. You should have accepted our offers of peace. We gave you every opportunity to avoid this. You chose war instead. Now you will learn what that means. The tactical display showed human ships moving into attack positions. 200 Krevi vessels against 6,000 human warships. The mathematics of destruction were simple. You misunderstood us. Admiral Chen continued. Your council studied our poetry and our protests and our monuments to the dead. They concluded that we fear war. They were wrong. We do not fear war. We fear what we become when we wage it. We fear the monster that lives inside us. The monster that we spend every day trying to keep locked away. His eyes seemed to bore through the screen. You have unlocked the cage. God help you all. Keith looked at his dying fleet. He looked at the thousands of human ships surrounding him. And for the first time in his life, the great Kidvari warlord felt something he had never experienced before. Fear. All ships. Admiral Chun commanded. Weapons free. The darkness of space lit up with fire. Across the galaxy in the Galactic Council. Chamber. Sensor stations began receiving data from the new Hyderabad system. High Arbiter Zilthan watched the reports with growing horror. The Krevari Third Fleet, one of the most powerful military forces in the galaxy, had been destroyed in 11 minutes, and the human fleet was not stopping. It was moving toward Kthvari space. This was not a defense. This was an invasion. Zilthan had studied humans for 2 centuries. He had been certain he understood them. He had been wrong about everything. The Galactic Council chamber had never been so full. Representatives from every major species had gathered, and the living crystal walls pulsed with deep red light, reflecting the fear that filled the room. High Arbiter Zilthan stood at the center platform, his silver scales dull with stress. Around him, voices overlapped in dozens of languages, all asking the same questions. How did this happen? What did the humans do? What would they do next? Silence, Zilthan commanded, and slowly the room grew quiet. We have received full reports from the new Hyderabad system. I will share what we know. He activated a holographic display. Images appeared in the air. The Krevari Third Fleet, 400 warships, reduced to floating debris in 11 minutes. The humans revealed a hidden military force that our intelligence services did not know existed, Zilthan said. Approximately 8,000 warships constructed in secret over the past 2 centuries. They used weapons we have never seen before. Kinetic projectiles traveling at relativistic speeds. Energy weapons of unknown design. Electronic warfare systems that disabled Thvari shields before the battle even began. A Voxy counselor raised a trembling hand. How is this possible? We monitored them. We watched their shipyards. They showed no signs of military construction. They built their fleet in the outer reaches of their system. Zilthan replied in the cold darkness where no one thought to look. They hid it from us for 200 years. Another counselor spoke up. A being made of crystalline structures, but their culture, their hatred of war, their trauma. We studied them so carefully. A new voice cut through the chamber. It was deep and ancient, and it came from a platform that had been silent for 4,000 years. Everyone turned to look. The Great Library AI was one of the oldest intelligences in the galaxy. It had been created by a species that no longer existed, designed to preserve knowledge forever. It rarely spoke. When it did, civilizations listened. You studied their words, the AI said. Its voice seemed to come from everywhere at once. You did not study their actions. You read their poetry about peace and concluded they could not fight. You saw their memorials to the dead and thought them weak. You watched their anti-war protests and believed they were afraid. The AI paused and the silence was absolute. You were fools. Zilphin's scales shifted color. Explain. Humans do not write poetry about peace because they are peaceful. They write about peace because they have seen too much war. They do not build memorials because they are weak. They build memorials to remind themselves of the terrible cost of violence. They do not protest war because they fear it. They protest because they know what war does to them, what it makes them become. The AI's voice grew heavier. In their history, humans have killed each other in numbers that would horrify any species in this chamber. They invented weapons that could destroy entire cities. They built bombs that could end all life on their planet. They came to the very edge of complete self-destruction. Images appeared in the holographic display. Ancient human cities reduced to ash. Battlefields covered with the dead. Weapons tests that turned deserts to glass. They did not stop fighting because they became weak. The AI continued. They stopped fighting because they had to, because they realized that their capacity for violence was so great that it would destroy them completely if they did not learn to control it. Every law they made against war, every treaty they signed, every lesson they taught their children about peace. These were not signs of weakness. They were chains they built for themselves, chains to hold back the monster within. The AI fell silent. After a long moment, Zilphin spoke. And now the chains are broken, the AI replied. The Kthvari attacked their homes. They gave the humans permission to stop being peaceful. And the galaxy will learn what humanity is truly capable of. Far across the stars, the human fleet had reached KTH Prime, the home world of the Krevari Empire. The supreme command of the Krevari military had gathered every ship they could find. 12,000 warships formed a wall around their planet. They were the conquerors of 11 species. They had never lost a war. Admiral Chun looked at the defensive formation and felt nothing but cold determination. Behind him, 8,000 human warships waited for his orders. Admiral, his tactical officer, reported. They outnumber us by 4,000 vessels. Numbers are irrelevant, Chun replied. Launch the first wave. Small craft began deploying from the human fleet. Not warships, transport vessels. They moved toward the 3 largest orbital shipyards that ringed Keth Prime. The KV Very Fleet commander watched in confusion. The humans were not engaging his main fleet. They were sending small ships toward the shipyards. Were they trying to capture them with such tiny forces? Let them come, he ordered. Our warriors will destroy them in close combat. Let the humans learn what it means to face Krivar claws. Each shipyard held thousands of Krevari warriors. They were the elite of the empire. 8 feet tall, covered in natural armor with 4 arms ending in claws that could tear through metal. They had fought in hundreds of boarding actions. They had never lost in close combat ever. No species in the galaxy could match a Krevari warrior in personal combat. The human transport ships docked with the shipyards, airlocks opened, and the Krevari learned how wrong they were. The humans who entered war-powered armor that made them nearly as large as Krevari warriors. They moved with incredible speed, their suits amplifying their natural strength and reflexes. They carried weapons that fired projectiles at speeds that could punch through Krevari armor like paper. But it was not their technology that terrified the Krevari. It was the way the humans fought. A Krevari warrior slashed at a human marine, claws cutting deep into the armor. The human did not fall, did not retreat, did not even slow down. With one arm hanging useless, the marine grabbed the Krevar with the other hand and drove a combat knife through its eye. Another marine took a wound that would have killed most species. She fought for 3 more minutes before her body finally failed her. The humans advanced through the shipyards with cold, systematic efficiency. They adapted to Krevari tactics within minutes. When the Krevari tried ambushes, the humans developed counter-tactics almost instantly. When the Krevari warriors charged in groups, the humans cut them down with precise fire. When the Krevari tried to retreat, the humans followed. The boarding action lasted 6 hours. When it ended, 40,000 Krevi warriors were dead. Human casualties were 847. The last surviving Krevi commander on the shipyard sent a transmission to his fleet before he died. His voice was breaking with something no Krevi had ever felt before. "They are not afraid," he said. "We thought they were cowards. We were wrong. They are not running. They are not hesitating. They are angry, and they are so much worse than us." On the command bridge of the Eternal Vengeance, the Krevi fleet commander listened to the transmission. He looked at the human fleet array before him. For the first time in Krevi history, a supreme commander considered the possibility of defeat. "What are they?" he whispered. "All ships, engage the main fleet. Show them what Earth can do." The human fleet surged forward. They were outnumbered, but they fought like demons. Their ships moved with perfect coordination, each vessel supporting the others. Their weapons struck with terrible accuracy. Their shields held against attacks that should have destroyed them. The battle lasted 4 hours. When it ended, the Krevi fleet was broken. 8,000 of their 12,000 ships were destroyed or disabled. The remaining 4,000 drifted helplessly, their crews surrendering to avoid complete destruction. Admiral Chun looked at KTH Prime through the viewport. The planet was defenseless now. He could destroy it if he wished. He could refire on their cities and burn their civilization to ash. But that was not what humans did. That was not who they chose to be. "Launch humanitarian vessels," he ordered. "Tend to the wounded.
Prépare occupation force.
We are not here to commit genocide. We are here to end a threat." The Galactic Council would later learn the human word for what came next: justice. Ambassador Elena Vance walked into the Galactic Council chamber for the 8th time. The room was exactly the same as it had always been. The 12 platforms still rose in a circle. The living crystal walls still shifted colors. The floating lights still drifted through the air. But everything was different now. The representatives who had once looked at her with boredom and pity now watched her with fear. Some would not meet her eyes. Others stared at her as if she were some kind of monster wearing human skin. The Krevi ambassador's platform was empty. Their empire was burning. Elena took her place in the center of the room. She stood straight, her hands clasped behind her back, her face calm. High Arbiter Zilthan spoke first. His voice was not as confident as it had once been. "Ambassador Vance, you have requested this audience. The Council recognizes you. Thank you."
Arbite.
Elena looked around the chamber slowly. "I am here to explain what humanity is doing and why. I am also here to discuss what happens next." Zilthone leaned forward. "Your fleet has destroyed the Krevi navy. Your soldiers have captured their shipyards. Your forces now surround their home world. What more do you intend to do?"
Elena nodded.
"I understand your concern. Many species throughout history have used moments like this to commit terrible acts. Genocide, enslavement, complete destruction. You are wondering if humanity will do the same." No one spoke. The silence was answer enough. "We will not," Elena said simply. "That is not who we are, but I need you to understand why we are doing what we are doing. Because you clearly did not understand before." She began to walk slowly around the center platform as she spoke. Humans have a concept called proportional response. It does not mean what many species think it means. We do not believe in responding to an attack with equal force. We believe in responding with overwhelming force, devastating force. We believe in making the cost of attacking us so terrifying that no rational being would ever consider it. She paused and looked up at the platforms. "You called this fear. You were wrong. We call it deterrence." The crystalline counselor spoke up. "But your culture speaks constantly of peace, of mercy, of avoiding violence." "Yes," Elena agreed. "Because we know what we are capable of. We teach our children about the horrors of war specifically so they will understand why we must avoid it. We build memorials to remind ourselves of the cost. We write poetry about peace because we have seen what happens when peace fails." She stopped walking and faced Zilthan directly. "Our reluctance to fight is not weakness. It is wisdom. We know exactly what we can do when we stop holding back. We choose peace because the alternative is too terrible. Zilthon's black eyes studied her. And now that you have stopped holding back, Elena's expression did not change.